Joining me now, CNBC senior White House correspondent Kayla Tausche. So, Kayla, it was interesting to see the White House try to both meet voters where they're at when it comes to this economy and also try to sort of beat back what the Republican messaging has been about the economy. It said, hey, this is a terrible economy. And Biden's going, hey, but look at my job growth.
Sure. And Chuck, I mean, this is a double-edged sword if there ever was one for the administration. On one hand, job growth, as you mentioned, unquestionably strong. Nearly every single demographic across the board was enjoying not only job but also wage gains in the prior month. But there are two issues with this number. Number one, the more people you have working and making more money, the more people who want to spend that money. They're putting it back into the economy, which is normally a good thing, but it's that surging demand that drives inflation. So that is why the Federal Reserve is now going to have to be, according to many economists, raising interest rates even sharper or perhaps just as aggressively as it has been for the last several months. The other issue with this number is just how surprised everybody was. Double expectations from traditional models just show how difficult it is in a pandemic era when you still have supply chain issues and you still have really difficult indicators to read, how hard it is for the White House to actually predict where the economy is going. Today, the press secretary was adamant that there is not a recession. But when I spoke to many White House officials behind the scene, they acknowledged that they were very surprised by this figure. And even though this is a lagging indicator because it tells us what happened for the prior 30 days, Chuck, it just tells us that there's a question about what happens from here and how good these models and these forecasts are about whether the White House is going to be right on that point.
Look, I'm going to bring in some economists that have been trained for decades on this question, but the hardest thing to sort of comprehend here is the massive job growth that took place in the same quarter that this economy contracted.
Sure, and that's one of the reasons why the White House says there is not a recession, that the labor market is simply too strong for there to be one, and that one of the reasons why we saw at least the headline number on gross domestic product be negative is because consumers were buying more from overseas than the U.S. was shipping to other countries. In other words, the U.S. consumer is so much stronger than consumer counterparts in other countries over in Europe and Asia. And certainly that is a good thing. But there's also a psychological issue here, Chuck, and whether we can talk ourselves into a recession, whether people read the headlines and they start to pull back their spending, they start to save more, they start to feel worse about the economy and their own personal position. And that also has a real impact on what happens from here as well.
Yeah, it's odd, Kayla. It's like we still have high consumer demand and we have negative consumer sentiment at the same time. It's another thing that's fully hard to comprehend. But hey, you and I aren't economists full time. I'm about to get a couple that are. So Kayla,
we just play them on TV.
Exactly. Kayla, as always, particularly for my big economic days, always appreciate your help. Let me bring in a couple of trained economists to give us their best take on where we are right now. Diane Swonk, chief economist for KPMG, and she's advised the Congressional Budget Office, Council of Economic Advisors, and Austan Goolsbee, a former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under President Obama. Diane, let me just ask it this way. How weird is this economy?
It can't get much worse. It is really weird. But I think it really is important to understand why the majority of Americans feel we're in a recession, even though from an economist standpoint, this isn't technically a recession because consumption, employment, and production are still rising. The reason they feel it is not only have they lost ground to inflation, they've lost all the ground that they gained as the economy reopened when wages surged and then some. So they really are losing ground on their living standards. So in their mind, they are losing ground. It's a recession, even though it's not what we think of as a traditional recession. And it really gets to the issue of how corrosive high inflation is, how hard it is on families. We've even seen defaults already rise among low-income households who no longer can afford to pay their bills when they were already sort of going paycheck to paycheck. And then on top of it, we saw in this month, they took on more jobs. We saw more multiple job holders, the highest level since February 2020. For me, that's a sign of economic stress, not economic well-being.
Austan, is there any precedent to this? If you look at it, what are we on our sort of the modern economy, our 12th or 13th business cycle? This is really an unprecedented thing we've ever seen, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And it follows the COVID recession was unlike any previous recession. Things that normally lead the recession actually went up. People bought more houses, more cars, more consumer durables. Usually that goes down. And what drove the recession was a bunch of recession-proof things like going to the dentist and personal services and stuff like that. So now we're trying to process how can you have an unemployment rate of 3.5%, but you're still adding 500,000 jobs in a single month. There's never been anything like that. I think it must have to do with what you're saying there, Chuck, that this is just an unprecedented time, and you had all of these people that were out of the labor force, driven there by COVID, and now they're coming back. So we're going to just have to see. You got to have some sympathy for the Fed, because it's not that easy to figure out where we are in normal business cycle terms, because this doesn't look anything like it normally does.
Well, Diane, it gets me actually the question I wanted for both of you is, look, the Fed has one tool, and that's really all. Well, I guess they have two. They can print money, and they can raise interest rates. Is this the right prescription?
Well, the Fed can't grow food and they can't pump oil, so that is a problem. They can't deal with an economy where demand is outpacing a supply-constrained world. The only way to deal with it is to hammer demand very crudely. And they think of inflation almost like a cancer. If you don't deal with it now, it can metastasize and become something much more chronic, like the 1970s. That was a decades-long inflation and took really severe recessions to break the back of. They hope that they can do this with a little bit of an increase in the unemployment rate. That is their hope. That said, even the little bit of the increase in the unemployment rate that they're talking about would constitute a recession from where we are today.
But Austan, I want to get at that. We added 500,000 jobs and the labor participation rate went down.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you look at the numbers, this is bonkersville. Like that doesn't happen in a normal business cycle. If people are getting hired in the hundreds of thousands, that's enticing a bunch of people back into the labor force. Now, there is some component that is demographic, that over the last 5 years and definitely over the next 5 years, the baby boomers are retiring. We're going to have a lot of people moving out of the labor force. So we probably shouldn't expect participation to go back to the levels that it was 25 years ago when we had that coming through the pipe. But that said, there are still puzzles. There are real strengths, and the job market has basically been the strongest part of the economy. But there's also some real weaknesses, kind of how Diane said. You've got real wages, that is wage growth minus inflation. You've had negative real wage growth for big chunks of the middle class. And consumer sentiment, as you laid out in the previous segment, is epically bad. People are in really bad moods. And yet the divergence between people are asked, how's the economy? They say it's as bad as they've ever said it was. But how's your personal position? They say it's okay. So the difference between their personal position and what they say about the economy has also never been bigger.
I go back. It feels, Diane, let me ask you this, the workforce issue. Are we better off in order to try to find an equilibrium, just basically letting more immigrant labor in? I mean, do we simply have too many job openings for the amount of people we have in this country to fill them?
Well, we certainly do. I mean, we're running job openings. Even as they cooled in June, they're still at 10.3 million when we've got, less than 6 million people looking for jobs. That's a big gap. So that's important. But I think much more important is also, in addition to the immigration issues, which I think are very, very key, we've lost a lot of immigration in the United States, and that was what was holding up growth in our prime age labor force. But we also have long COVID. That is taking a toll on participation by our prime age workers. And any given month, in the month of July, we had 60% more people who were out sick during the month than during any average month in the 2010s. That is because of the infections that we're seeing again from Omicron. Those continual infections and long COVID are adding to labor staffing shortages and the cost of what it is to run a business. And that's adding to inflation even when wages aren't outpacing the overall inflation rate.
Austin, compare our economy to the other Western economies, maybe the other members of the G20, if you will. Just from my perch, it certainly looks like we're a bit more resilient than some of these others. But are other economies going to hit recession before we do if we end up in one?
We might. This is an important area. In a way, if I told you the U.S. is going to have 9% CPI inflation for the last year, what would happen to the dollar? You would say the dollar's probably going to collapse if we have that high of inflation. But in fact, the dollar hasn't collapsed. It's gone way up because the U.S. is stronger. Its outlook is stronger and better than most of the other countries. Though I want to caution everybody, I don't think that we've had a recession in the first 6 months. I thought the argument about GDP going down when you're adding this kind of jobs, that's not a recession. But the Fed is the most common cause of recession in the United States. It's caused more than 2/3 of the recessions by raising rates faster than the economy can handle. And we're raising rates as fast, really, as we have ever raised them. It took them 3 months to raise rates this time, what took 3 years in the last rate-raising cycle. So we could enter a recession. Right now, we look stronger than the rest of the world. But if they're going to tighten rates at that kind of speed, we could stumble rapidly.
And some might argue it might be you hate to say it, is it the only choice we have? That's something nobody wants to say. Nobody and hopes that isn't the answer. Anyway, Diane and Austin, I feel smarter about this, so I appreciate having a couple experts like yourselves on the show. So thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.